Today we have Coach Jermaine Padilla. He's the varsity softball coach at Taft. He worked at Lane Tech in Northside before coming to Taft as an assistant. He's worked his way up and helped rebuild the Taft softball program to its former glory. Coach, thank you for meeting with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So how did working with a few different programs throughout CPS help you really prepare to run the program here?
Yeah, well, I have a lot of experience. I've been coaching now 23 years, this sport, and I started off at Lane Tech back in the late 90s. I had the pleasure of coaching my sister-in-law back then, and I just saw that tradition of winning, that championship quality softball. My career then went on to coach at elementary school, and then became the head coach at Northside Prep, where in 3 years I was able to help them achieve winning 2 regional titles there. I think it was back in 2011 and 2012. And then 7 years ago, I became involved with the Taft program. I started off as a JV assistant. Then the following year, I became the varsity assistant. And then 5 years ago, I became the varsity head coach. A lot of experience and a lot of, in all those years. But for me, I had a vision for this program. I've always felt that Taft was a sleeping giant. I felt the bear needed to be poked. I felt, we live in an area where there's a lot of softball, a lot of high quality softball players, and my job was to try to keep them to stay here in our community at Taft High School. So we're constantly finding them going across the city to go to other schools or to go to some of the parochial schools around here. So that was kind of my goal. I just wanted to also make this program marketable to all those kids, those young ladies in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade who are out there, hoping and aspiring to become high school softball players, to really seriously give us a hard look.
And speaking of that sleeping giant, many Taft fans may not know, Taft softball was one of the best in the city during the mid-'80s to '90s. They were public league champs 86, 88, 92, which also brought them to the state finals in those years. Frank Hood is the most successful coach in Taft softball history, going 266 and 29 from 1985 to 1998 with a .902 winning percentage. How has the program's history helped you achieve where you've gotten, and how has it inspired you to rebuild this program?
Yeah, you said it right there. Kind of looking at what those numbers were from the late '80s, mid to late '80s, even into the early '90s, and then in 2006, they did win a city championship, under Coach Vitas. The potential is here. There's a rich tradition in being a winning program. For me, I wanted to come in and just help it take that next step. Back in the day, city champion got the automatic bid downstate, and so since the early 2000s, that changed. It's now on par with the rest of the state, where you qualify for the state playoffs and you got to go through regionals and you got to go through sectionals and so forth. I really just wanted to, I made it a goal of mine to kind of become that first team to win regional, and then hey, let's take it from there. But we got to first kind of achieve that, let them experience that success, and then get that taste in their mouth to really take it further. Last year we had a great run, and we hit stride right at the right time, and so speaking on last year, that was just an unbelievable season. I had an unbelievable group of girls who just were relentless, did not want to lose, would not quit, and they played like that. So I'm happy for the program. There's a lot of buzz about us. There's a lot of talk about us. We've kind of broken away. I'm really trying to take away the eagle. As much as we are all Eagles, but I want people to see Taft. Just because I want people to speak about Taft softball, because I really believe we're becoming our own brand of softball. We're trying to raise the bar for CPS. We got great, our 2 rivals, Lane Tech and Whitney Young. They've raised the bar in softball in CPS, and we want to continue to help raise that bar. They're our biggest competitor. And I love that they compete. It makes us better, and that's what we want. And I like to see more of that in CPS.
And as you mentioned, winning a regional and a sectional last year, first in Taft history. You eventually losing in the Super Sectionals to state champions Marist. There are several returning players from that team last year. Who of those players have stood out to you so far?
From our last year's team, kind of evaluating when going into the 2022 season, we lost a big chunk of our infield. We lost our third baseman, shortstop, our second baseman, first baseman, and a big outfielder. But just kind of looking from our returners, from the offense and defensive side, our center fielder, Jocelyn Ulloa, she's continued to just produce, putting up hits. I mean, she's gold out there in the outfield. Anything hit to her, I'm confident that it's going to be caught. She'll make the diving catch. She'll make the great throw. And then our leadership behind the plate with Renee Aslan, just really me having the confidence, our coaching staff having the confidence in her to kind of control the game. It's one worry that I don't have with her back there. And then, our other starter that is back, she's kind of working through injury. She pitched last night against Stevenson. We had a great win, 11-7 last night over in Rosemont at the stadium there under the lights. We had our youth night there, so that was excellent. She's coming back from injury, and so we're hoping that in the next couple of weeks she starts to kind of get back to her old form. So, we replaced a lot, and so for us to be experiencing this amount of success this early is a good thing. It's a lot better than I expected, and hopefully we continue to just build upon that. And hopefully the weather allows us to do that.
And the players that either weren't on the team last year, were not starting last year, how they stepped up. Obviously, Catherine Gonzalez is a huge name, was named NFCA MaxPreps Player of the Week for the North region. That's one of 4 regions in the entire country a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, she just went on. She was on fire. I think for a long time there, she was batting 1,000. I think she is, as of last night, she's leading CPS in batting average, and I know she's in the top 10 in the state for that. She's come up through our JV program, so it was kind of one of those, watching the JV win their city championship last year. You start to kind of look at who's going to be coming up with you, potentially be coming up with you the following year. And the one thing that was clear was her bat, but working with her the last month or two, we're really trying to define her and give her a position. And she's really, really starting to excel at playing first base. You're seeing a lot of growth there. So, we don't want her just to be a one-tool athlete, just offense, right? We're trying to get that defensive side because, we also want her to play in college, and we want to give her something where she can go to college and possibly be more successful at. So we want to continue to grow her and develop her there defensively. But, from her offensive standpoint, she's just been on fire. Hopefully we continue that, and then we had a transfer student in Jasmine Casas, who's a D1 commit to the University of Missouri, Kansas City. She's just been stellar. She's just kind of walked into this program. It's like she's been here all 4 years. She is just, she's a leader by the things she does on the field, by her demeanor, just her pleasant attitude, always positive, always hyping up her teammates, hyping up herself. And then we got another a student that as a freshman, our shortstop, third baseman. She's been helping us pitch, Elena Gonzalez, and she's just been. She's walked in, and she may be only a freshman, but she looks like she's a junior or senior already. She's already seasoned. Big part defensively and offensively. She's actually leading off for us. So, we've had some nice additions, and then not to mention our all-city, one of our starting freshmen 4 years ago, Olivia Barra, who missed her sophomore year due to COVID, and then her junior year she ended up having surgery, so she missed her season. So having her back really just like an emotional uplift for our team, and just seeing her out there playing again, producing for us has really been pleasant to see. So, a lot of new faces, but we're getting a lot of production for them, and so we're very happy with that.
And looking towards the future, next week game with Whitney on one of the best teams, not only in Chicago but the state. How much are you looking forward to that matchup, and would you say they're your biggest opponent in the rest of the regular season?
It's most definitely because, but I don't want to look past any other teams because Lane Tech is having a great season right now. I think they only have one loss. They lost a tough one to St. Ignatius with Ellie Giles, one of the top pitchers in the state. But I think Whitney Young maybe is +1 to the rest of them. I think it's because of the history of last year, us having to play them in the city championship, and then having to play them in the sectional to go to the sectional championship. They were ranked higher than us. They were seeded higher than us last year. We pulled off 2 big upsets with them. So we know we got a big target on our back. I mean, that's I think that's obvious. But I mean, next week we got a tough week. Next week we got St. Ignatius, which we're expecting to face Ellie Giles. We got Lane Tech, and then we got Whitney Young, and that's back to back to back. And then we go into Prospect on Saturday, or Prospect's coming to us. So we got a tough week next week. It's one of those weeks that, hey, if we could walk out, winning 6 games, it's gonna be a great season. But we could also walk out not winning 1. So that's what this season is. It's fun. It's coming up through these weeks and the challenges that present us, and how do we respond, but not more importantly, win or lose, how do we get better from it?
And after finishing in the top 8 at Class 4A last year, arguably one of the best teams in the state last year, you said you pushed your team to think bigger, to think regionals and think sectionals. Are you pushing them to think about a potential state title this year?
Oh, that was our goal last year. I mean, that's our goal every year. It's difficult. It's a difficult road. It's a difficult task. But ultimately, I hope I can walk out at the end of my career and say I brought a state championship to Taft. Okay, but we got to take it one step at a time. To get to sectionals, you got to win regional, right? And to super sectionals, you got to win sectionals. So we got to take it one step at a time, and so that's our focus for us. We look at who's in our sectional. We have our opponents that are within that sectional, and we want to sit there. We call them statement games. If they're in our sectional, we got to make a statement when we play them, because we know how the seeding goes. They vote. People will look at head-to-head competition, and so we got to make a statement when we play those games, so that we can get the highest seeding possible, and put us in the best position to have the most success. But at the end of the day, regardless of what you're ranked, what you're seeded, you got to show up and play that day, and that's the mentality you got to have.
A very successful season so far. You heard it here first, Eagles fans. The state title is the goal this year for Taft varsity softball. Coach Padilla, thank you for meeting with us today.
Appreciate your time.